What's going on, legend? Well, welcome back to Beyond the 90. And as you've probably seen, breaking news that I'm about 5 hours late to. Came back from work a little bit late, and then on the way back, I was just going, "Oh my god, massive news!" You've probably already seen it. You don't need to tell. I don't need to tell you, but my god, we've needed this, haven't we? For the longest time, for 3 of the last 4 years, it's been crap, and looks like the club have finally decided. Top came out in the interview. It was a pretty softball interview, but look, we've wanted communication and we got it. They could have released a statement, and a lot of the answers looks like it were not freestyle, but a lot of them were genuine from a good place. He could have put out some responses before and just some written stuff like he does at the beginning of the season. This felt better. This felt a lot better than what he's done before. And the fact that Rudkin's coming with him, and that's fine if we can send him off and he becomes like a King Power disciple rather than a football disciple with John Rudkin. That's a really good move. And some of the things he was saying is like he hears the fans and Dan Bates, and I get it because he employs him. So he has to be like, Your Highness, you know. But I'm still glad that he's done it. Well done to Top for trying to do this and take this club in the right direction. Now, who we get in is got to be important. Just because Rudkin's going out, it could be a lot worse. For those of you that watched the video where we were speaking to Dave about Norwich and saw how big a problem a director of football is, you can see how bad Norwich was, and from the two directors of football and how badly it can turn. It is not... the next appointment has to be good, just like the manager. But from listening to the interview and from listening to and from reading it quickly about what they were looking for, Martin Glover is keeping his place and they're bringing in somebody else to work on his same vision. I think we're all quite happy with Martin Glover in terms of what he's doing, the signings he's making, but the club is in a big bad. It's not in a good way. Top has given the King Power over to one of the to another owner, so he's less of a CEO role, and they're finally bringing in people to help the business, which is great. I mean, I've said for a while, I'm not anti King Power, but I said they need help, and it's great that they're finally listening and they're getting advice from the right people. So, for example, and another thing to mention when they were writing, they are looking at getting people in, and getting people in, and we don't mind paying compensation, which I don't know if that affects FFP. I feel like we're all sick to death of FFP, aren't we? But I don't think it affects us that much FFP wise. However, and it's good that they're willing to pay compensation, which I think is going to be great for the overall, for what's coming up with Leicester City. It's going to be, it's not going to be easy, but I feel confident about the future. It can go wrong. It's not going to be plain sailing, but getting the managers in general, the ones that John Rudkin has picked or has been rumoured to have been terrible. So Steve Cooper being one. Then you've had Chris Wilder he wanted, Sean Dyche. Not just dinosaurs. And I'm so glad that he didn't get his way. Obviously, Steve Cooper, he did get his way for that one, and that didn't end up well. I did think he was slightly poorly treated, but in general, it was awful football to watch and just depressing. And anyway, look, the future is looking bright. Unlike the weather in the UK, where it's been miserable downpouring today, but there are some benefits and there are some good things that are happening, which is a good start. I think the next step is getting some of these prima donnas out of the bloody club. As a start, it's going to be a long, tough ride, but at least I'm seeing a bit of a gap in the horizon. I'm going, okay, I can see where we're going. There's a room for change. And I think the room for change is really important for us. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty. But you could understand why some fans are becoming just not even like angry, they're just becoming apathetic to the situation. Obviously, I know I've not touched on it, but the chance against John Rudkin was just absolutely appalling. And I was thinking when I was like, I get you're frustrated. That's not the way to help it. And also, you do know how the club works, where they like to play victim. So you're only, if you criticise the club, they go, well, look, there's people trying to do this, isn't that unacceptable? And they're all like this. So it really didn't help the movement of people that wanted change, but it looks like we're getting it, which is great. Who they get in is going to be important, really important for the football club. I know bugger all about directors of football. Somebody like a Steve Woll Senior though, I know his time at Everton was awful, but you can see how his background and bringing him as one of the people like Nigel would be Big Nigel would be a good start, and but I don't think it will happen. But there's plenty of other good scouts and things on the continent, and maybe Martin Glover can have a role in that as well with who he brings in. But it's a sign of the times, and the times are changing in a positive way. Again, I've not been making football content because it's been pretty boring and we're saying the same thing over and over again. However, things are looking up. So let's enjoy this international break. Let's have a good time. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.